The EOS token holders are the largest shareholders of the EVM product. So there's direct benefit if the EVM becomes successful, direct benefit back to the EOS token holders. The model and the approach that we took is very similar to what a crown corporation is in Canada. There's three different ways as I see them. One is that we sponsor and we fund the code itself, the public good itself. And we just don't do anything else. We just leave it and we wait until somebody in the community, any developer or any business picks that up and makes a product. We obviously did not want to leave that to chance. We don't have the luxury of waiting. EOS does not have that luxury. And so really that wasn't an option. The other two options on the table were the ENF itself making a product of that public good. Now, part of the issue with that is, as y'all well know, the ENF team, until very recently, was only Zach and I. We didn't have any developers. We didn't have anybody else other than Zach and I. So that was really not an option either. And we could have grown a team to be able to do that. But what we want to do with the ENF is really keep the ENF focus as being EOSIO, the product, or EOS, the product, and not actually having product ourselves. So we don't want the ENF to actually run any applications or run any products. What we didn't want is, similarly to what we saw with Block One or with other entities, is that once you have your own product, then the decisions that you're making are no longer based on what's the best interest of your shareholders, but what's in the best interest of the products that you're perhaps developing. And so we don't want to replicate that. We've seen how that's gone. We don't want to do that. And so we really want to remain as much as possible agnostic from a political point of view, where it doesn't matter who's in power, who's governing and such. We're just the operations branch. But also from a product point of view, we don't want our decisions and roadmap to be influenced by whether or not we have a particular stake in a particular product that belongs to us. And so the way that we're approaching it is very similar to what we talked about a while back, which was the ENF Ventures route, which is having shares in a product or in something that benefits the token holders. And if that is successful and that is being run by a third party that also has interest in seeing that success, that the EOS token holders come and benefit. The ENF is a non-for-profit and its mandate is to enable developers, businesses, and individuals to build on EOS. In order to keep our non-for-profit designation status, we have to deploy the capital that we do have as revenue back as expenses on the mainnet. We have no choice. It has to benefit that. And so the idea is if we can generate revenue elsewhere, then that revenue has to go back to the mainnet. Now, right now, the EMNF has a cost to the mainnet, right? We're leveraging tokens that come from inflation saving and or those that we had at the onset from the, legacy name and RAM fees. Now, imagine a future where the investments that the ENF has made now generate revenue. That revenue has no choice. It has to be offset by an expense as per our non-for-profit designation status, as well as our mandate as to where that needs to be deployed. If those particular bets are actually quite lucrative, that revenue could come in and offset 100% of all the inflation needs that we have on the ecosystem. So really the vision is to have at some point the ENF be able to continue operations without having any cost to the chains to do so. And it can't generate a profit, so it has to take that revenue and deploy it as an expense on the mainnet. The EVM is the first flagship product to test that model. And then the idea is then ENF Ventures would be kind of the scalable functionality of that process that we're now testing out with this. And so that's the third approach. The first approach was just do nothing and leave it for chance. Second approach, the ENF actually runs the product. I just explained why we weren't going to do that. Third approach, we have shares and we subsidize or we make a strategic bet like we have whenever we're giving grants or whenever we're making Pomelo, for example, Eden, for example, the recognition grants, the blue papers, the working groups, etc. Those are strategic bets that we're making. But this is the first time that we're making a strategic bet and we're actually getting equity. And if that is successful, now we have incentives aligned. We've got that product team that has shares in that product itself. So they're incentivized to see this work well. They're incentivized to see this grow because they could benefit from that. We also then abstract, if you look at how traditional, let's say, public services are run, governments are typically the worst person to run products because they don't necessarily feel the cost that those products run, right? Because they're essentially using taxes. In our case, it's the inflation. And so the idea is then this product team is incentivized to see it grow. But because the token holders have made a strategic bet in them, the token holders benefit from that. So the incentives are more aligned. The idea is that the operations should be leaner and more lucrative or more strategic from their point of view, from the business point of view. And that really creates kind of that closed loop incentive mechanism that I think a lot of us thought of when we first thought of the ICO sale going to block one or EOS VC, where the shareholders would be the token holders. That's what we've been trying to create with the ENF. And really, this is the first flagship product for that.